Welcome to this week's edition of Outdoors Online, a weekly webcast produced by the North Dakota Game and Fish Department. I'm your host, Tom Jensen. It's a little early to start talking about spring, but not spring turkey season. My guest this week is Casey Anderson. Casey is the Assistant Wildlife Division Chief here at Game and Fish. We're going to talk about turkeys, the upcoming season. Casey, applications for the Spring Turkey Lottery are available now, and the deadline comes up fairly soon.
Yeah, they're all the online and paper applications will be to the vendors fairly soon. They're all printed, but the application deadline is February 11th, so people want to start thinking about where they want to go and get that stuff in.
Turkeys are one of those species, I guess, that aren't really affected by harsh winters or mild winters. We've had a fairly mild winter so far. How are our populations doing in general?
The population across the state is fairly stable compared to like what it was last year. It's going to be pretty close. And we've had an easy winter, which definitely doesn't hurt so far. We had some cold weather to begin with, but it's been fairly open as far as snow cover goes, so that always helps. Turkeys have a tendency to find food in some farmsteads and things like that, and so they're pretty resourceful when it comes to bad winters. And we're mainly looking for good spring conditions to pull through the hatch and brood rearing. So. Sure.
What constitutes a good spring for turkey?
Well, you want to have a moderately, you don't want to be too wet and cold because that affects the survivability of the broods, the chicks. And then good habitat conditions, of course, for nesting and things like that.
Habitat, of course, plays a big role in almost anything.
Yep.
So naturally, you're going to have areas of the state that are doing better than others, I would assume.
Yep, depending on, the habitat that's out there. Some habitat has been disappearing over the last few years, CRP going out and things like that. And so you are limited by the amount of habitat you have and then the quality that you have, depending on, if we got good moisture, which we did get pretty good moisture last fall, and so things are looking good for habitat that's out there to be in pretty good shape as long as we don't get too dry or something right away in the spring. But
let's talk about the spring season, actually, that opens, I believe, in April, and then talk about some of the rules and regulations and things.
Yep, the new rule for this year that it came out, we made a little bit of a change. They'll have to shoot a bearded turkey or a male turkey, because in some cases, the jakes can be pretty small and not have a visible beard, but they'll be strutting or things out there, so you'll be able to tell that they're male.
There are hens occasionally too that have the
Yeah, there are hens that occasionally have a beard, and so to distinguish and tell those apart sometimes gets hard when they're just walking past you or something.
Right. We should say now that this is a toms only season, with that exception that you just explained.
Yep, it's geared to toms only, and that's because you can typically take out the toms and not affect the population that much, because one tom will breed numerous hens, and so you can take out the excess.
How many licenses? And also there are a couple of units, I guess one unit that is going to have a few less and one unit that's going to have a few more.
Right. There's just over 5,800 licenses that'll be available for the spring season. We had 2 units that we increased licenses a little, and then 2 units that we decreased. So compared to last year, it's 65 less licenses than we had last year. So not a huge change. And then we have 1 unit that is still closed. Unit 21 down in the southwest is still closed.
Just
because the population has been low and hasn't been recovering like we'd like to see.
Sure. You actually have a few licenses left over for this spring season from time to time.
Yep. Typically, I think the last couple of years we've had licenses left over in certain areas of the state, and as a person who wants to go turkey hunting, if there's a license left over, you can have 1 extra license. So if you got drawn, you can have up to 2 licenses for the spring season. So you could buy an extra one after the drawing. They're first come, first serve. So,
okay. Well, let's talk about the youth. Do we call it a preferred license or something?
Yeah, there's a special youth license that you can get if you're 15 and under, and it's the first turkey license you've had. You're guaranteed a license, and so there's a special application that you have to do to get that. And so you'll want to check if you're a youth or your son is thinking about turkey hunting, or daughter, you go ahead and contact the department and get that special application. I think you can do it online. and then they can get their first turkey license. Will be guaranteed.
Another great hunting opportunity for the youth. All in all, it's going to be a pretty good season.
Yep, it should be. It's shaping up to be so far. So.
All right, Casey, thanks. It's easy to apply for the Spring Turkey Lottery. The easiest way probably is online. Simply log on to the Game and Fish website at gf.nd.gov and follow the links to the lottery application. You can also fill out the old school paper applications and send it in with a check for the application fee, or you can apply over the phone. The number is 800-406-6409. And again, the deadline to apply in the Spring Turkey Lottery is midnight on Wednesday, February 11th. For Casey Anderson and the rest of the staff here at North Dakota Game and Fish, thanks for joining us for Outdoors Online. We'll see you again next week.